Pretty simply, I was thinking about, I've seen a lot of deals in pharma with Chinese drug companies. And over the last, I used to work for a Chinese brokerage firm, and I did a big report, a couple hundred-page report then on what was going to happen in the Chinese market. And the idea is that you, as GDP increases, as countries get wealthier, they spend more on healthcare. It's a almost perfect correlation. And so that business, that industry would develop. And in the last year or two, there have been a lot of deals where mostly U.S., Chinese citizens who came to the U.S., studied, go back to China, and they build what they know. So they've taken a lot of their expertise that they've learned here, and the ecosystem's developing really well there. The government's supporting the industry, the biotech industry. And so they're going from copycats to coming up with their own drugs. So pharma, which is very good at marketing, somewhat good at inventing drugs, is always on the lookout for new innovative drugs. So they start to in-license these and start to get pretty big money. Now, some of the Chinese companies, they're deciding to hold on to the domestic rights and just out-license the US. So it's pretty interesting. There's a Chinese billionaire who came out just from an IPO of a healthcare company. So it's really becoming much more entrepreneurial than it was. So I decided, okay, I want to find out what are the next drugs. And knowing that I'm not a PhD scientist, and I can look at them, I can wade through some of this and be pretty good at it, I decided to find someone who would actually be even better at it, at identifying what the compounds that are most interesting. And so this MIT, Harvard PhD candidate, he runs a lab he and I worked on this for a few months trying to figure out which ones. And so I came up with a list of, or we came up with a list of 17 of the most promising drugs and the companies. Now, what am I going to do with this, or what are people who've purchased the report going to do with this? It's pretty simple. I'm going to look at each of the companies and say, I'm going to buy an equal weight amount of each stock. Small portfolio, just as a placeholder, as a, hey, listen, this one of these is going to turn into a giant company. Several might turn into pretty good companies, and some might fail. But it's kind of a VC approach to a really interesting area. I want exposure, but I don't want to bet the farm on any one drug. Now,
So how do you do that, David? Is it like you put take a 5% of your portfolio and you allocate it among 10 companies? Or
yeah, exactly that. You look at, and some are only public, some are public on the Shanghai exchange, which US investors really don't have great exposure to for individual stocks. But if they're on the Hong Kong exchange, then it's pretty simple. You just take, now this isn't for everybody, right? For me, I can say, let's take a certain percentage amount and divide it up equally and buy those stocks. Fidelity via, E-Trade, Interactive Brokers, very easy to do. And then every year or so, I might rebalance it, but I'm probably not going to. I'm probably just going to keep an eye on it for the next, and have a mindset that this is 3 to 5 years. This isn't, hey, I want to beat the market this year. It might. I mean, it's a really hot area, but that's how I'm thinking about it.
okay. So this is more longer term hold, not really catalyst driven, not as in the weeds as you are with some of
Yeah,
the US stocks you have in your portfolio.
the report mentions each of the drugs that's interesting and like what the next data point is. So you can, if you wanted to look at it as, well, it's going to have phase 3 data at the end of this year or early next year. So you could track it that way.
Yeah.
Now that's how I'm using it. So that's how it came about. I just did it for myself. And then I said, you know what, let's polish this up and let's get the
Make it
perspective.
available for people. Yeah.
Yeah, and I got the perspective of the president of Merck, who runs everything outside of the U.S. He runs Joe Romanelli. He took a look at it and also gave his comments on how the market's developing. So the folks that are investors, that's one way to use it. Other people who already bought the report, there are hedge funds who are going to use it the same exact way. But for example, a large drug company could use it for targeting what drugs do they want to in-license, so business development wise. And then separately, I do know that capital markets folks and bankers will use it to, hey, which are the companies I should go after that are not yet?
M&A.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So are you gonna update this like in 6 months or every year? Or how do you kind of look at the following through on this for
Yeah,
people?
that's what I plan to do, is kind of periodically just kind of go through each of the names, what's been the update. Is there, because sometimes there's a reason, even if you're doing this balanced approach where you
Yeah.
say, there's no
There's a
reason for me
reason.
to hold it anymore. This
Right.
is not going to work out.
Right. Okay. Good. Well, Thanks for where do you get it?
If you go to passes.com/Wall Street Beats, and then you look under shop. So where in our area, you'll see there's the report name is there, and you can order it there.
Okay.